I have lost respect for people in top positions in this country. They are people who should not be spared. Many are thieves we see in church and in the mosque making donations all the time, and people show them so much respect. Ladies and gentlemen, all that donation money is stolen money. They must account and pay for every wasted resource of our country. When a person appointed by the state to serve in government or in any state institution come before an accounts committee to account for what they use their position and resources allocated to their office for, and they concede to stealing, misuse of resources, or causing financial loss to the state, it is unjust for the state to grant that person a pardon and let things slide. Ladies and gentlemen, this is injustice. These aren't honorable people. These are enemies of the state. They aren't content with anything in life at this point. If you pay them $100,000 a month as salary to live in an underdeveloped country like Ghana, they will still need $1 million extra to be comfortable, all because they can use their position to come up with some BS procurements and rip the state off. This is what they are used to now. These are people who are already on government payroll, ladies and gentlemen. For goodness sake, they have been on government payroll for so long. Some have been there for decades and have been taken good care of by the state. Many of such people have privileges that puts them in a completely different bracket from the rest of us, and are further provided so much to guarantee their comfort while they work for the state. Ladies and gentlemen, they walk into hospitals and receive wider medical coverages for themselves and families. Their clothing, vehicles, and even fuel is absorbed by the state. There are special packages provided them for when they have to go on retirement. These are people who actually form the middle class of our economy. At the ministerial level, ladies and gentlemen, they have take-home monies at the end of every 4 years. And when such people with all these perks and per diems choose to do things that will result in the state losing money or lives being lost, ladies and gentlemen, such persons must be made to pay. It cannot be a pardon when the layman or the regular person who has very limited skill set and limited opportunities and therefore not able to get a decent job commits an offense, like, for instance, stealing from the state energy provider or not paying taxes, for instance, get thrown into jail. It cannot be, folks, that such persons gets to face the full rigor of the law and many times jailed or made to pay huge fines, while government appointees and State Department heads are left scot-free. This is injustice and unacceptable. There must be consequences for when you waste state resources. Your homes must be taken from you. Your bank accounts and other assets must be confiscated. You must be banned from working for any state institution moving forward. And in the future, running for any public office must be something you are prohibited from. I know you may see me as a mean person with the sort of punishment I'm proposing, but I'm actually not. I'm a Christian and believe in the exercise of our Constitution. And I know that even as these people ask for pardons and excuses, that wouldn't be how God himself will respond to their pleas, ladies and gentlemen. Because those are the kinds of languages we keep hearing being thrown around all the time when such crimes are committed. They invoke the name of the Lord into all these conversations, and pardons are negotiated. Let me ask you this. What does God do to people who break his laws in the Bible? Have you read it? Do you know? According to biblical information, do you know what God do? I'll tell you. He punishes their actions no matter who they are, even when he forgives them. And it's out of God's law we have a constitution If you didn't know, I'm bringing it to your attention. If things will ever change in any part of Africa, it must begin with enforcing the laws we've adopted. Ladies and gentlemen, King David is loved by God in the Bible. But David kills Uriah, sleeps with his wife. God kills David's son and allows for David to suffer, seeing how his own son sleep with David's concubines. And God doesn't end there with the punishment. He doubles down by taking away the biggest project David could have ever built for God and his own reputation, and hands it to another one of his son. Ladies and gentlemen, that's justice. All these people stealing state resources are religious people, one way or the other, who should know better. And that's why I'm playing this religious card. They've stolen so much, and for so long, their conscience is broken. They've gotten used to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is how they live now. They've forgotten how to live on their paycheck. Majority of these people cannot depend on their salaries alone for a month anymore. They can't. It will be a disaster for the kind of lifestyle they've adopted. Such people need serious punishment and not just some face-shaming charade. When you see the state give out pardons and negotiate deals with such persons, you should know that the state people involved are as corrupt and evil as those who have perpetrated those crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, they do so to protect themselves for when they also get caught in such acts in the future. The state need all the money it can to develop. Therefore, no part of state funds must be diverted into private pockets. People are frustrated on the street for unavailable jobs. You know that. Job recruitments are turning into death traps, and people's ability to make ends meet is shrinking by the day. Meanwhile, you, one man or one woman, holding one position in government, is redirecting resources meant for the masses to yourself. And you have people who will show up to stand in solidarity with you when you are called to give an account. Ladies and gentlemen, something is terribly wrong somewhere, because in any serious jurisdiction, the people who followed you, ladies and gentlemen, and were standing by you could be investigated. I'm telling you, that's how you kill corruption in an underdeveloped country. Why must there be pardon for you? Tell me why. You must go to prison and lose everything the stolen money afforded you and be sanctioned in addition. You, one man with 5 super expensive cars and multiple homes in prime locations in a space of 4 years, when your annual salary can't even afford one of those properties. How do you explain that? There are just too many politicians who could never explain their sources of wealth, and these are the same people who are at the forefront of critical political issues in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, people are getting fed up every day because of the injustice in this part of the world. When people abuse state offices and don't suffer any real consequences, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes the new norm. It trickles down to the entire structure of their department. Such level of corruption is what's being seen across board. The police are taking briberies on the streets. You know it, I know it. State institutions take briberies, and the ministries are even worse. Contract monies are overblown, yet contracts are uncompleted. You take a state contract which is already overpriced, and you are able to get paid in full by the state for a contract you have not even finished. You should be arrested alongside the people who approved the payment for that contract and those standing by you during the investigations. Injustice is our problem. Corruption is our problem. But the way we are going about it, ladies and gentlemen, will never provide the needed solution. Those at the very top have formed their own cabal that protects each other. They come into office with the promise of investigating, prosecuting, and jailing offenders. And guess what happens? They end up cutting deals behind our backs to deliberately fumble court cases to let such people off the hook. This is unacceptable. The scandals coming up from the Auditor General's report in Ghana doesn't make sense anymore, ladies, and you have to see it to believe it. I have lost respect for people in top positions in this country. Their entire lives are a scam. Many are thieves. We see in church and in the mosque making donations all the time, and people show them so much respect. Ladies and gentlemen, all that donation money is stolen money. There are people who should not be spared. They must account and pay for every wasted resource of our country. That's how it's supposed to be from this time onwards. And I hope the President of Ghana, His Excellency, President John Mahama, has the courage to do what is right by the state. I'm Cyrus, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't. This is Tuntum Network. I'll come your way again with another one. May God help us all. It is bye-bye for now.